we're excited how we have a big variety of different kinds of schools on tonight. So we're excited to hear from all of you. Thanks so much for giving your time to us tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Sheller. I appreciate that. So this session is called Reality Check, what I would do differently. So here's how we're going to structure this. I'm going to ask each of you students to introduce yourself first and tell us a little bit about you. We're going to answer some other questions, and then we'll open it up to our audience to see if they have any questions for you. All right. So let me start. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Ms. Bowers. I'm a school counselor at Bennett High. Next, our students, our college students, are going to introduce themselves with their name, the college they're attending, their major, and what high school they come from. So shall we start with Simon?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Simon. I'm a freshman in college this year. So last year I graduated from Bennett, and I'm at Vassar right now. And so Vassar is a little liberal arts school up in New York. I think I'm the only person from a liberal arts school here. So if any of you guys are interested in that, feel free to email me. I'd be happy to help out more later, explain what that means. And so the way liberal arts schools work is we don't pick majors until a little later on. So I don't have a major right now because it's kind of this kind of exploratory idea in your first year or two. But I'm interested in social sciences and humanities. Yeah, and I'll send it to Paul.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul. I'm Zooming from Harvard College, which is in Massachusetts. And I graduated from Y High last year, and Harvard is also a liberal arts school. I'll pass it on to Geoff.
All right, I'm Geoff. I graduated from Wacomico High School. I'm currently at Emory University, which is also a liberal arts and a research college. And my major is currently econ, economics.
Gracie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Pass it off to Gracie.
Hi everyone, my name is Gracie. I'm studying music education at Towson University. I primarily play the violin, but I'm also in the marching band. So if anybody has any questions about band or anything instrument, you guys please feel free to come to me. So yeah, I'm in the music education program.
And last but certainly not least, Hannahlise.
Hi, I'm Hannahlise, and I go to the University of Maryland, and I graduated from Bennett last year, and I'm also a freshman. I'm majoring in psychology and violin performance.
All right, guys, so here comes our first question. And Simon, I like the way you started it off, where you pass it off to somebody and we just keep rolling. So the first question, take a minute to think about it if you need to. As you reflect back on the process you went through during the college application process, what would you do differently? Simon, start us off.
Yeah, sure. So it took me a little bit to figure out that a lot of the schools have these financial aid calculators on their websites. It's required by federal law. And I think that is like the biggest thing you can do to help yourself is look at these financial aid calculators, because a lot of schools will give financial aid, like a lot of the private schools give financial aid based off of need. And so what they do is they look at like how much income your family is making, and then they use that to determine how much financial aid they give you. And that's called need-based financial aid. And so for me, figuring out that I could basically like put in financial data into these schools' websites, and they could tell me with like shocking accuracy how much that school was going to cost was a big game changer for me, because I could tell which schools were like possibilities for me and which ones weren't. And a lot of the schools, like the school I'm at, Vassar, has a big price tag, you know, and so it's deceptive and it looks expensive. But for middle and low income students, there's fantastic financial aid. I think that's the case at a lot of schools that offer 100% of financial aid. So if I could do it differently, I wish I would have figured that out sooner. Because it was such a big help in figuring out what schools I could go to and what was a possibility for me and what was not. Paul?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Simon, because also at Harvard has a huge price tag. If you look at online, I think it's like 80,000 a year. So without financial aid, I would not be able to be here right now. So I'd definitely say start your financial aid FAFSA early on, and also make go through all your applications, look through them early on, because if you decide to apply to a lot of schools, you have to write a lot of things. You have your supplements. You have to go through things with your guidance counselor and teacher recommendations. So there's a lot to handle. So I would recommend starting much earlier so that there's not a lot on the table. I'll pass it on to Geoff.
One thing that I wish I did earlier was just doing more research on colleges, because like, like we're on this Zoom right now, it's like we're going to college, but like what type of college you want to go to, what type of environment you want to go to. You want to go to like a liberal arts, or do you want to go to like more of a research setting? Do you want to be in a suburban or a city, or just like middle of nowhere? Like you just have to do your research and figure out what's the best fit for you. Passing off to Gracie.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to going along with like researching your colleges, for me, because I'm a music major, that also includes scheduling a lesson with one of the teachers, the private instructors, because you could get to college and have your first lesson after like the second week of school, and then you might not like the teaching, and it's really important to go ahead and schedule a lesson beforehand. Also, I know for Towson and a lot of other schools, there's an early action deadline. So I put in my application by December 1st. And then when you do the early action deadline, then that means you can be considered for any like scholarships, and then like financial aid and stuff. If you decide to wait a little longer, then you might not be considered for all the scholarships and all of like financial aid and stuff. Even if you're not completely sure like whether or not you want to go to that school, if it's on the list of schools that you're thinking about, definitely apply by the early action deadline, because otherwise like you could be missing out on thousands of dollars, which ultimately would decide whether or not you're going to go to that school.
Yeah, I think I agree with what all of them have said, especially with the early action deadline and with music as well. I had the same experience. Like you have to research teachers at a time, like have sample lessons with each of them. And also just, I wish that I started the college search process earlier, because there's just so many colleges you can look into. And within each college, they have so many different programs. And so I wish that I started earlier to get like a good idea of what I wanted in a college.
Great, guys. I really,
also,
yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, I also do want to tag along with what Hannahlise said, because I know for Towson at least, we're doing like music major for a day, and you can shadow a student in the music field. You doesn't have to be music. Like if you're interested in engineering, you can shadow an engineering student, even if it's not like at the school like you particularly like, but that could also help decide like what major. So if you start getting into that and taking tours early on, and then just trying to shadow people, like shoot for as many opportunities as you can, because that's going to help you out.
Really good points. And to keep these good tips going, what was helpful to you? Think about information you found helpful, resources, and people that you spoke to. Simon?
Doing research on your own early, like people were saying, read the college's websites, try to figure out what they're about, what their values are. And a lot of colleges have these great resources online that they made when we were applying, because everything was all COVID and shut down. And so they made all these virtual resources. Take the time to watch them, and take notes on them. And if you do go in person, don't be embarrassed to be the kid with the notepad, because you like I was like the first couple, I didn't take many notes and I regret it. Take notes. And so I appreciate the all the knowledge and information that schools put out there, and don't be afraid to email counselors. I think someone mentioned this already. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, reach out to people at the school, and do that earlier before they're in the middle of applications that they're reading. Do that this week. If you have questions, try to get engaged. And because a lot of them, they want you to apply. They want you to like their school, so they'll try to help you if you reach out. Paul?
Yeah, for me, what was really helpful for me was I got really lucky, and I had Miss Matthews with me, and she told me everything about college. And I had a lot of upperclassmen friends who also got into great schools and had done all the process before me. So they helped me a lot through the process when I did it as well. And also your peers and those who are applying with you as well. You guys could sit down, go through essays, help each other edit, and ask each other questions about different schools and see what they've learned about different schools and see if you're interested in those schools. Geoff?
So something that really helped me was just like the teachers and like even Google, because like Google's right there. So like if you have a question about anything, you can just Google it. And then like with your counselors and teachers, like most of them went to college, like been through the process, and like when you talk to them, they'd be like, hey, I actually went to that school. Like if you're applying to SU, like, oh, I went to SU. So like it helps that insight. And even if they didn't go to that exact school, it might have been like a similar area, like the similar type of school. So it's really helpful to have their insight and then go from there. Gracie?
Yeah, definitely ask people. Don't be afraid to be the person to speak up and ask a question, because there's probably a whole bunch of other people who have the same questions as well. And when it goes for like, if you don't know something, like talk to your friends about it. Like there's nothing wrong with asking a question. And talk to your friends. Also, something that I found out early on, when you're in the process of applying, go through, and most schools will have a checklist on the website of like what you need to do for the application, how much the application fee is going to have, like your resume. Get all of that ahead of time, like saved in one spot on your computer. So that way, when you're like looking for the files, it makes it a lot quicker when you are submitting the application.
Yeah, I also did the same, like organizing by different files by schools, and that made like deadlines and different like documents much more easier. And I would say also just like do a lot of research online. That helped me a lot because there are a lot of free resources for students, just like walking you through the application process and what Simon mentioned about colleges offering information, especially due to COVID. And so like for me, I attended a lot of information sessions, and that was really helpful. And if you are able to go in person, I would recommend some schools let you like sit in on certain classes, and that could be a good way to like understand what the school like environment is like, and what the professors are like.
Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to add an extra thing, tag along with what Gracie said about applications and application fees. So if you have free reduced lunch at any of the schools, you can actually get fee waivers for your applications. So for me, I was really lucky and I was able to get those fee waivers. So I basically applied to all the schools that I was interested in without having to pay for anything. So I definitely recommend checking that out.
Really good points, guys. What was the most difficult part of the process? Simon?
For me, the most difficult part was honestly that there are so many incredible and really cool schools out there, and trying to figure out which ones I actually wanted to apply to I think that was the most difficult part for me. Because the truth is that you can be happy at so many different places. I think sometimes we like fetishize this idea that like you have to find the one school for you and then set your heart in it. But the truth is that you can be happy in like so many different places. And it's about like how you interact with those places that matters. And so yeah, so like everyone's been saying, really try to research those schools, figure out what's going on with them, and don't get caught up in this idea of finding like the perfect school or something like that. Paul?
Yeah, I think in the process, the hardest part for me was one, FAFSA, all the financial aid stuff, and then two, writing all the essays and supplements for the schools. So for FAFSA, different families may have different situations. So some may take less time and some may take much longer time. And I think that was kind of like what was really hard for me because I had to really sit down with my parents and have a talk with them about our financial information so that I could actually get FAFSA done. And also with the essays, like when you apply to so many schools, you have a lot of essays to write, and you want them to be good essays so that the mission counts officer will see that you're a good candidate for their school and actually want you to be on campus. Geoff?
Going off what you said about supplements, I would say that's the most difficult part for me because like compared to the rest of the application, the college supplements are really unique because like a lot of them like are like unique to the college. Like one of them for me was like why Yale? Like just 2 words, that's the problem. Or like the other one was just like a random problem, like I can't think of it right now, but like something like U Chicago talking about like cheese on the moon, something like that. They just like random prompts that are specific to the college. So like you gotta take your time and like get them started early because like your main essay, you can use that for any college, but those supplements are specific to each college.
So for me, like my biggest thing was I am a first generation college student. So my parents didn't really know like the college application status. So I mainly relied on my close friends and then my guidance counselors and the internet. And it was kind of weird because it was during COVID. So it's not like we're having assemblies in school all the time. So I think the biggest thing like to realize like you are not alone. Like it may seem like you're lost and confused. That's okay. The process is confusing and sometimes you may feel lost because you don't know which school you want to go to and it's stressful and it seems like your entire life is going to rely on this one decision on where you go to college. But just know that you are not alone in the process and there are resources to help you. Also, when it comes to like finances, if you're stressed out about like the FAFSA and you may think like, oh, like my parents like make too much money, like I'm not going to get anything. Most colleges require you to apply for FAFSA either way. So just go ahead, get it out of the way. I know for me, like my parents weren't going to contribute. So it was up to me to like come up with the money, apply for scholarships, like crazy. Make it a goal, put it on your planner, like put it on your calendar. I'm going to apply for this scholarship on that day. Get a job over the summer, but don't burn yourself out with the job. There's a lot to be said for like saving up and like believing in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then like you're gonna get sad and you could burn out. Like, but you need to believe in yourself and know that there's resources. So like if something does happen, like talk to one of your guidance counselors because they're there for you and there's so many resources when it comes to paying for college also.
For me, it's probably also writing the essays because so many schools have so many essays specific to them, like Geoff and Paul mentioned. And a lot of these, like why us essays that schools require, they are looking for something like deeper than like, oh, like you like their specific program or like their major. Like you kind of have to really look into the school and get to know like their values and like what makes you a good fit for them and why they're a good fit for you. And especially in these essays, like you have to really bring that out. And so I think that took a lot of like brain power to just like figure out what I really liked from each school and what like felt like a good fit. And also because I applied for music, a big part of the process was also making recordings. So I would say that was pretty difficult.
Simon?
I did want to just add that like Paul, Hannahlise, and Geoff were all talking about how important these short essays are. And so I really want to make sure everyone understands how closely that's tied to doing research about the school and going to those sessions and talking to your financial or your counselors at the school, admissions counselors. So everything we've said about like doing research and learning about the school, like make sure you really tie that to the values of the school, like Hannahlise said. And so I just want to emphasize the connection between those short essays and that because even when it's not like a why Yale or why Haverford essay, even when it's something where it's asking about like discuss your community, if you know the school and you know what they value and you know what they're looking for in applicants and you know what kind of students they want, you're able to write a better essay to cater to that school. And so those two things are really hand in hand.
Awesome. All right, so the next question, I feel like we've hit a lot. So I'm going to ask you to pick the top best lesson? Because you guys have already given us so many good lessons. So pick the number one lesson. If you could sum it up in just one sentence, what would be the best lesson you learned after going through this? Simon?
Okay, so the best lesson to give you all is to, if you're a middle or lower income student, read the link I'm about to send in the chat about 100% of need schools, because the schools their financial aid is just incredible. If you're a lower or middle income student, like it's cheaper for me to be here than it is for me to be at SU. And so I just want to emphasize that to everyone. That's my takeaway lesson.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Simon. And I think something that I would add on is that everything will work out. Although right now saying that you might be like, why, like you're in college already, that's why you're saying that. But actually at the end of the day, everything will work out at the end. Because right now you have everything on the table, but at the end of everything will work out. You don't have to stress out with all the little details, because I was there too. When I was applying for all the colleges, I wanted to make sure everything was good. If there was something wrong, I had to fix it. But just don't be too stressed over it, because at the end, it will all work out. Geoff?
The best lessons I can give y'all is that take an initiative like on your college application. Like, don't wait till later. Like, start now, and like this is like get the simple things out the way you can do the hard like in the near future. Because like if you have the time, you can apply early action, which gives you like sometimes like a higher chance of admission or like a bit more financial aid and stuff like that. Another thing I can give y'all is just like check your email as often as your social media, because like you can find like the colleges contacting like, oh, maybe you're missing a document, or like someone like from the financial aid, like the financial aid officer, the admissions office reaching out to you. Or if you're an athlete, like a coach could be talking to you and you don't want to miss that opportunity. So check your email as much as social media.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway would honestly just to be to focus on your mental health through the process. Know that you're not alone. If you need help, if you're getting stressed out, there's so many people who want to help you. And there's so many people who are in the same boat as you are. If it's starting to get stressful, if you're starting to worry about finances, or if you're going to get the application due in time, if your essay is good enough, take a deep breath and maybe step away and come back the next day. It's very much an act now process, but at the same time, don't stress yourself out over it. And it's okay to take a step away from something and then come back when you're ready to.
I think the best like lesson is just to like believe in yourself and like don't be afraid to like apply for a school that you might think is like too big of a reach, because like you really don't know. And I think especially with like test optional now, that opens up more options for everyone, and it's not so focused on test scores and stuff like that. So I think really just apply for like what you feel is fit for you and what your family can also afford. And and don't be afraid to ask questions like with your counselors or your teachers. If maybe sometimes like English teachers are pretty open to like reviewing essays, you could ask them. And also admissions counselors.
Wonderful. All right. Thinking back to high school now. High school in general, not just the college application process. Would you have changed anything about the courses you took in high school, the grades you earned, or time spent preparing for the SAT or the ACT? Simon?
Honestly, no, I'm pretty happy with how, I mean, I would have changed COVID, but you know, that's out of my control. I did have the opportunity to take some dual enrollment courses, and I think that really helped me with like AP courses are like they're teaching for a test, or at least that's the model that a lot of AP teachers use, and college is different, and so it's nice if you're able to get an experience at SU or Warwick that's not like this like big standardized test at the end based kind of class. And I was lucky to do that.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with what I did in high school, because I try to do my best in high school, and I think at the end, I was really happy with what I did. But I think what I would have changed was probably like stress on grades less and more focus on what I actually learned and how to apply that rather than focusing on that A or being afraid that I'm going to get that B, but more so learning, because I think in college it's more about learning rather than the grade. Jeff?
So for me, I feel like something I could have done better in high school was just studying for the SAT more, because like so one of the mentions like one good thing about college, so like colleges, they look at you holistically, so they look at your whole application, like look at your essay, what you've done and everything like that. And like overall, like I was pretty strong, but like my SAT kind of didn't match the rest of my resume. So like if I just studied for the SAT more, like I feel like that put like a bit less stress on me. So yeah.
Gracie?
Yeah, I think my Wi-Fi is being like really unstable in the dorm. So one thing that I would definitely recommend is like maybe not recommend, but do what is best for you. I took all the AP tests that went with the AP classes that I took when I was an underclassman. And then my junior year, I don't think I took the AP test because COVID. My senior year, I said, forget it with the AP classes because I'm not taking the AP test anyway. I think the AP classes are good to get you prepared. But I would not say in my experience at Towson, they're nothing like an actual college class. And I do want to mention, like I went to Parkside and Miss Collins was my guidance counselor. And I was in one particular math class that I just wasn't doing well in. There's nothing wrong with going to your guidance counselor in tears and being like, I can't do it. I want to switch classes. There's nothing wrong with that. If like
And I think Gracie's internet has given up on us. I'm sorry. Hannahlise, do you want to go ahead?
I think overall I'm pretty satisfied with like my high school experience, but yeah, I think I could have started studying for the SAT a little earlier, and like started searching for like different schools and looking into different programs earlier. I would say like don't be afraid to try activities outside of what's offered at school, like extracurricular activities at school. I think often you can like make different opportunities of your own. Like if something you're interested in is like not a club at school, I think there are a lot like more different opportunities outside of school that you can make your own, or you can reach out to people and like get involved in.
Gracie's back. Did you want to finish your thought? Hannahlise has already gone.
I don't know where it cut off. Guys, the Wi-Fi in the dorms are not always the best. Just so you know, I don't know where I left off, but yeah, I would say just don't stress yourself out over a class. It's not worth it. I don't think in my experience, the AP classes that I took in high school are nothing like the actual college classes at Towson at least. So if you're planning on taking an AP class or an AP credit, that's great, but make sure that the school you go to or you're interested in will accept those transfer credits because some of them don't.
I would like,
Yep.
I was also saying that the AP classes and tests is like, it's a different mindset. But I also, at the same time, I will say that I learned a lot of important skills in those classes and a lot of like, that just via being difficult classes, I think they're valuable to take, even if they are different than what college classes are like.
I agree with that because personally, like being in like back in high school, like taking a whole bunch of APs, I feel like you had a lot less time because of that long school day. So you have a lot more classes in one day. Whereas in college, like it's like near that same difficult, depending on class more or less. And then like you have a lot of free time in college. So like it really prepares you for the workload. And now you have like extended amount of time. So I feel like AP classes really do help you in that sense.
I will say that this is my third year seeing this panel, and probably the number one thing that's repeated is just don't stress so much. All the students want to go back to high school and not stress as much as they had. So I really appreciate that thought. Okay, well, now we have time for our audience to ask you guys some questions. So if you want to, if you're comfortable coming off of mute and asking a question, go ahead. You can also type your question into the chat box and I'll read them out loud for you. Here's a question. How is transportation? I'm sure it varies between colleges, but is it an easy or a difficult process? And for my panel, whoever has an answer, just come off mute and go ahead and answer that question.
I guess I'll chip in on this one. I think transportation is actually not as bad as you think, especially like in your financial aid package that you get from the college. It actually includes the cost of transportation. So it kind of like the school calculates how much money you'll kind of spend to get to the school, so they don't put that burden on you. But I think I guess the harder part is like actually moving in and packing stuff up and actually getting there, because if your school's very far away, then you kind of have to sit through a really long ride. But other than that, I think the school does a really good job making sure that there's no burden on you and your family to get you to the school.
Personally, my college is in the suburban, so like I'm in Atlanta, but it's like in the northern part, like outside the main city. So my college does a pretty good job because we have shuttles going to like the essentials, like Walmart, Kroger's, which is another grocery store, and then like some like highlights of the city. So like they'll take you to where you need to go, and then like in like big cities, like I said, like there's Ubers for like a fairly cheap price.
I know for my school, freshmen can't really have cars on campus unless you have like a special like accommodation for them. I've been off campus, I want to say like 4 times in the month and a half that I've been here. We have shuttles that will take you places that are just by Towson. So it's completely safe. You just show them your Towson like ID card and then you can get in. So they're safe and they're pretty reliable too. Also, I'm only like a 10-minute walk from Baltimore. So wherever I need to go, I can just take a buddy and it's not that far of a walk. You can also like find friends who have cars and get them to take you places if you don't want to take the bus or walk.
You mentioned safety, Gracie. So that brings up a question that I have. What safety measures are there on the college campuses?
My school has something, they have like a little number you can call on the bottom of the ID card. So if some people are, say you want to go to a party and make specific choices and it's not safe to drive home, they will pick you up for free and bring you back to wherever you need to go. That way you are sober and not, well, you're not sober. You are being driven by somebody who is not under the influence. So that is something that is really nice and something to look into, because it's nice to have a free ride. Ubers can get really expensive.
Yeah, Maryland has that as well. And then they also have like the blue light system, which I think most colleges have. It's just like I think you're always like close to one. So if you need to, just press it and then they will like alert the police. And then there's also something called night ride. So if you're just feeling unsafe or you just want someone to like drive you home instead of like walking across campus at night, you could just call and they'll have like people who are specifically trained and they'll just like drive you to where you need to go. And about transportation earlier, Maryland's a pretty big campus with a lot of hills, so they do have shuttles, but what I do is I bike to my classes and that's been like going okay so far. But a lot of people also just walk and that works too.
I would say Emory's pretty similar because we also have a night ride, what's called safe ride for us. It's basically the same thing. You can request and it comes in like 3 to 5 minutes. And like another thing, like the college community, like I feel like, well, personally in mine, like people just like really look out for each other and like, you know, don't walk anywhere by yourself. Like even if it's just like to like your building or whatever, like just like being with somebody at all times, you know. So like hopefully you'll find that community for that safety.
Yeah, I definitely agree. On Harvard, we also have the blue light system. I think at any corner of campus, you can at least see one blue light. And if you ever need help or have emergency, you can always just get there really quickly and click that button. And also we have like this service where you can call, I guess we call it Securitas. It's like this security for Harvard, and you can ask someone to walk with you. And they're all over campus, so you can just send them a text message or call them, and they'll find someone to walk with you when you feel unsafe.
So now that you guys are all on a college campus and you're official college students, what kinds of things, activities are you getting involved in? I've heard, I know some of you are getting involved in some music things. I know Simon is up at Vassar. Geoff, are you an athlete at Emory?
Yeah, I'm
Are
a
you playing
varsity
a sport?
athlete. Yeah, for Emory track and field. And I feel like
So,
oh my bad, what were we saying?
so is that year round for you, or is it, or how do your seasons run?
All right. I don't start competing until December, but I started training like the second week I got here. And part of being an athlete is just like it really puts you in a good routine. So like you have class, then you have like a little break in between, then you have practice, and then like usually you eat with the team. And like that's one thing about being an athlete. Like it really brings community, and like you get to know sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and especially being on the track team, which has like 100 people. Like there's some people that have the same major as me, so they already been through the process. So like I talk to them like, how's this professor, or like, oh, what's this concept, things like that. So like it really brings community, and like helps you feel more welcome. And like for people that aren't exactly on like varsity sports, you can also join like club and intramurals, which will also have that same goal. Won't be like traveling as much.
Yeah, I will say, I most of my time is spent with marching band or in a practice room. But I do realize not everybody is a music major, and a lot of people have other things they get involved in. There's always like you can get involved in Greek life. They have something for everybody. They have multiple organizations. So that's a really cool thing to look into. And most of the time they'll have like nights, or like in the beginning of the school year, they'll have, I know they set up a whole lacrosse field of just tables for Greek life that you could walk around for 3 hours and just get to meet everybody at the table. So get involved in that. And then if you get involved in one of those organizations, then you're going to meet people who have similar interests as you. You're going to meet people who are like maybe seniors. You can ask them about what classes to take. There's a ton of stuff to get involved in, that's not just like sports or marching band, because those are really big time commitments.
I do some music stuff at Vassar, but more of that's just more for fun, like the orchestra and wind ensemble. Vassar doesn't have any Greek life, so it's kind of different from Towson that way. It kind of, but there are a lot of other social things that you can do that run differently. That they have all sorts of events that are always going on. There are all sorts of really quirky, different kinds of student groups. So like a couple nights ago, there's like an acrobatics show with fire and everything, and so it's just like interesting things people do. I've gotten involved in some other activism groups though, and environmental stuff, and some community stuff that goes on in Poughkeepsie, which is the city's Vassar.
Yeah, one thing about college is like you're going to find your group, like, and you're going to have fun. Like, you're going to try things you never thought you would do. Like, I remember I'm like in my first 2 weeks here, I was playing ultimate frisbee. I never thought I would be playing ultimate frisbee, but it was pretty fun. So, and I saw a question in the chat saying, can you elaborate more on the living situation, how it is easy, how easy it is to get a dorm without a roommate? So, personally, I'm going to say that because of the COVID situation, a lot of colleges are like at max capacity. So, like, I would say it's fairly difficult at the moment to get a single, but it's definitely not impossible.
Same at Vassar.
Oh, go ahead, Simon.
It's hard to get a single right now, but like I was a lot more scared of the whole roommate thing than I should have been. I actually like living with a roommate, and I didn't think I would. So
Yeah, I agree with that. My roommate is walking on like Facebook, or there's a thing called Zeme, and not every school does that, but you can definitely find Facebook groups who are like people with your class, and you can find a roommate that way online. It's kind of like Tinder for roommates, but it's not. I would definitely recommend doing that if you're scared about finding a roommate, and then like FaceTime the person and be like, hi, like get to know each other before you commit. But at Towson, there are a ton of different styles for dorms. So I live in a suite style dorm, which means I have a roommate. This is a pretty big room for a dorm too. And then we have a bathroom right there. And then there's another room just like this on the other side. So those are our suite mates who live over there. But there's also quads. It's definitely something worth looking into the college about the housing situation, because that can have like a big like make or break thing on that college. Also, some people don't like sharing bathrooms. That's okay. They have premium housing where you get your own bathroom too.
Yeah, and at oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, yeah. So what I was saying that at Harvard we actually for freshmen you all are really close to the center, which is Harvard Yard. That's where all the tourists go, and that's where the statue is. That's like you're really close to the dining hall, the library, and your freshman classes. But once you become an upperclassman, you can get, I think, 7 other friends to block with you or be roommates with you, and you get like into a house, and then which is like pretty. It's not super far away, but I've heard that so many people complain that it's really far away. But you get a house with your friends, and you can basically have your friends as your roommates. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And some schools just provide housing for the first year or two, and then you might have to move off campus and find other housing with a friend. Ms. Matthews just posted in the chat that the class of 2021 and 2022 are the largest in history applying to college.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
I have a quick question because I love food. What is the food like on campus? Hannahlise, I haven't heard from you. Do you have input on this? On my favorite
I think it really depends on like the specific dining hall. So like I live on South Campus, but most of the freshmen live on North Campus. I live on South because like I'm in a specific living learning program. But I would say I like South Campus the best, and I think they usually have a pretty good variety. And like we have a Mongolian grill in the back, so you can like if you want, you can get like hibachi. But I will say that like it is starting to get a little repetitive, but it is still a good variety of options. And then compared to like some of the other dining halls on campus, so it's been okay. And if you want to, there are still like restaurants like on campus or off campus that you can go to.
I would say that dining for me, it's pretty good for the most part. So there's a regular dining hall, so that takes meal swipes. So like with my ID card right here, I just swipe in, and then it's like buffet style. And then there's another dining hall that takes like real money or dually dollars, which is like our school currency, like non-taxable money. But yeah, the food's pretty good. And like there's also like at most colleges like fast food restaurants and restaurants like close by.
Yeah, at Harvard, I think, so as a freshman, you get access to a special dining hall, and that's only for freshmen because they want you to meet new people. A lot of people that I've actually met were at the dining hall. You sit down with some new people, you introduce yourself, and that's kind of how you get to meet new people and make friends. And then as upperclassmen, you get into a house, and each house has their own dining hall. And the special thing is, you can swipe as many times as you want in a day. So if you feel hungry at any moment of the day, you can go in and just swipe and get as much food as you want. And sometimes you can also go to the upperclassmen housing dining halls and get food as well. Sometimes they have like waffles, they have like grills sometimes. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Vassar has unlimited swipes too, like for the meal, in the big dining hall, which is nice. And since it's a smaller school, there's only one dining hall, which I kind of like personally, because everyone is in there and all the food's in the same place. But then they have cafes, and so like every day you also get like 3 swipes at different cafes around campus. And so it's like pretty much unlimited food. It's good stuff. And they stay open till after midnight too, which is nice for us college students.
All right. Does anyone else have any more questions for our wonderful panel? Nothing in the chat. All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much to you guys for coming and chatting with us. This was a wonderful conversation. Really good to see your faces again. And good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being part of our college boot camp tonight. We really appreciate it. Great information that you shared with our students and our parents that are on with us. Good luck and best wishes for a great freshman year.